It all started on a hot afternoon in Lagos. The streets were busy, filled with the sound of honking downfall, cars and street vendors shouting for customers. Caroline was walking home from work, tired, frustrated and hungry. A boss was stressing her out, and life felt like one big struggle. That's when she saw it. A small red bracelet lying on the ground. It was beautiful, deep red, almost glowing under the sun. It looked expensive, the kind that people would wear for high fashion or maybe even tradition. But then there was something else about it, something that made her heart race. She looked around. Nobody seemed to notice it. It was just there, maybe waiting for the right person. Curious, Caroline picked it up. The moment her finger touched the beads, a strange cold ran through her body, a sudden cold discomfort, a whisper of wind, even though the air was still. Should I drop it? It could belong to someone. She hesitated. But then she thought about her life, about how nothing ever seems to go her way. Maybe, just maybe, this was a sign, a little gift from the universe. She let go of all her thoughts and wore it on her wrist. From that moment, everything changed. The next day at work, a boss who always found a reason to insult her suddenly praised her. Caroline, you are beginning to impress me with your hard work, he said. Keep it up. She nearly fainted in excitement. This man had never, in her 2 years of working there, said anything nice to her. Later that day, she got a message from an old friend who owed her money. Hey Caroline, I just got paid. Let me send you the 65,000 I owe you. That night, as she screwed through her phone, she saw a giveaway post. Just for fun, she entered. The next morning, she woke up to a DM. Congratulations, you won 100,000 naira. It was unbelievable. The bracelet was lucky. It had to be the bracelet, she thought. But then, strange things began. The shadows started visiting. At first, there were small things. A feeling of being watched when she was alone. The sound of whispers just as she was about to sleep. Then it got worse. One night, she woke up to the sound of beads rattling. She looked down at her wrist. The bracelet was glowing and moving. The beads twisted slowly, as if unseen fingers were playing with them. She threw it off her wrist immediately. But just as she was about to lie back down, she heard footsteps, slow, heavy, coming from the corner of her room. Her heart began to race fast. She reached for her phone, turned on the flashlight. Nothing was there. Maybe it was just stress from work. Maybe she was overthinking things. But deep inside, she knew the bracelet was not normal. The next day, she went to Balogun Market. If this bracelet was spiritual, someone there would know. She asked around, showing the bracelet to different traders. Most people shook their heads. Some didn't even look at it. They just turned away, almost scared. Then she met an old trader in the market. The moment the woman saw the bracelet, her eyes went wild. "Where did you get this?" the woman whispered. "I found it," Caroline said. The woman grabbed her wrist. "Listen to me, child. You must get rid of it immediately." Caroline swallowed hard. "Why?" The woman leaned in. "That bracelet belongs to them." Caroline shivered. "Who?" The woman looked around nervously before whispering. "The ones who walk at night." Her voice was shaking. "They use it to find people. Once you wear it, they know you. They watch you. And if you don't return it..." She didn't finish her sentence. Caroline didn't need her to. That night, Caroline couldn't sleep. The woman's words played in her head. She had tried to throw the bracelet away. She had even tossed it into the lagoon. But when she got home, it was on her bed. She screamed. The lights in her room flickered. The air turned freezing cold. Then she heard a knock. Not on her door, on her window. Trembling in fear, she turned her head. A dark figure stood outside her window, and on its wrist was the same red bracelet. Caroline screamed. The last thing she heard before everything went black was a whisper.
"You took what was ours. Now, I take you."
The next morning, neighbors knocked on Caroline's door. They had heard screaming. When no one answered, they broke in. The room was empty. The bed was untouched. No sign of a struggle. Caroline was gone. The only thing left behind was a small red bracelet lying on the bed, waiting for the next person to find it. What would you do if you found the red bracelet? Would you take it or walk away? Let me know in the comments.